So this is a very important visual, very well known. So you should know what this looks like and what it means. What's happening here is on the y-axis we have portfolio volatility, and on the x-axis we have number of stocks in the portfolio. Okay, and what this is basically communicating is, as you add more and more stocks, you take advantage of diversification more and more, right? So you add another stock, you improve your diversification and you reduce portfolio risks and volatility a little bit more. You add another one, volatility decreases a little bit more, but very importantly, at a decreasing rate. Okay, and at some point you converge to a place, to a level which you cannot reduce risk anymore beyond that. Okay, so that convergence, that point above that, is the what we call the unsystematic risk, right? So that's the diversifiable. But we can, by adding more and more stocks, we can get rid of that risk. But then there is the part we are stuck with, and we cannot reduce anymore. Whatever we add, we are going to be stuck with that amount of risk. That's called systematic risk. Okay, and the rule of thumb is, this doesn't apply to all the cases, but rule of thumb is when you get to about 30-40 stocks, like a reasonably diversified portfolio, where you have reasonable portfolio weights on those 30-40 stocks, that you will have squeezed as much diversification as feasible out of that portfolio, and you will not be able to usually reduce portfolio risk anymore by adding more stocks. Okay, so that's sort of a rule of thumb, around 30 or 40, and beyond that it's difficult to reduce risk any further by adding more stocks. All right, so now an important implication of this is there's that component of every stock, every risk asset, part of its risk volatility is unsystematic risk or diversifiable. So the moment we throw that asset into a diversified portfolio, boom, a lot of that risk will actually go away, and it doesn't matter, it's not going to affect the portfolio. Some of it will, that's a systematic risk component. Some of it will not, unsystematic component. So what that means is, now, this is very important, we need to rethink our previous idea of risk-reward relationship, right? Where we said if an investment is exposing you to more risk, it should also offer you greater expected return. Now we have to be careful. We have to be much more nuanced about it. It's not just any risk that should require greater reward, because a lot of the risk that was in that volatility sigma is easily eliminatable, right? We can get rid of it, easily diversifiable. So in a competitive market, there should be no compensation for risk that you can easily eliminate by forming a diversified portfolio. There should be no compensation for it. So what we're going to say now is that there should be a risk-reward relationship, but the risk that's relevant is systematic risk, the type of risk we cannot get rid of. There should be compensation or reward for that. Okay, so this is incredibly important for what's going to come next. All right, so now sigma was our measure of an asset's total risk. That's in isolation. When we look at the standard deviation of returns, you're exposed to that only if you hold that asset in isolation. The moment you throw it into a diversified portfolio, all that's left is a systematic risk component. It will contribute to that diversified portfolio, and that measure now we call beta. So we need to come up with a new measure that measures that systematic risk component of total risk.